No Face, No Case explored the topic that's often discussed in our community, but I think rarely dissected, and that's DL or DL culture. And this episode was definitely polarizing among the three of us. And I feel pretty confident saying that this episode generated the most feedback than any other episode this season. So
That's a
it
lot to
was
say.
it was a lot of thoughts, and there's a lot to unpack. But first, I want to share the results that we had from our Instagram story polls. So, much like our opinions, the poll takers didn't agree either. We asked, do men need to disclose that they are involved with other men to their women partners? 43% said yes, and 57% said that's none of their business. Also, we asked, is the term down low problematic to you? 50% said yes, 50% say no. Is it surprising to you that like there isn't a majority perspective on these topics? Like, were you expecting there to be like more of a like definite opinion on these things?
No.
I I thought that um that when it comes to should men do men have to disclose to women, whether or not, like, who their partners are, if they're sleeping with both men and women. I thought that more people would say that it's none of their business. But it was only a small margin that voted in that
Hmm.
way. So that was a little surprising to me. But then when it came to whether the term DL is problematic or not, for it to be right down the middle, I just found that to be, I mean, it I guess is kind of indicative of like our opinions slightly, but I was just like, I didn't think that it would be so polarizing where it's like right down the middle, didn't lean one way or the other. So it's definitely a topic that, people in our community need to explore more.
Hmm.
That's what that tells me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like one listener made a comment saying they wish that we spent more time differentiating between being down low, we don't have a new word for it yet, and simply not being out. And I think that's something that three of us talked about a little bit on the episode, but more so like outside of the episode, just among our own conversations. I think that it's interesting because I feel like this is a topic that like a lot of people don't really talk about it in detail. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I feel like it was really, I feel like even in the episode, I feel like we were talking about separate things a lot of times. And
Hmm.
and I feel like I'm seeing a trend that with these topics that don't really get spoken about much, there's so much to unpack that I feel like we don't even know where to start. And
Hmm.
like, what do you guys think about that? Like, I feel like we talked about it, but I guess not enough.
Yeah, I think like somebody said to me, they were like, "I wish like you guys had, I guess, debated a bit more about the idea that it's just the two things aren't the same." Because I do think that we've spent so much time and so many years thinking about this quote download person as like this niche of a thing all to itself and by itself, and not really that in some ways that person's a version of a part of our community. And I think when because it becomes so polarizing, then it becomes more like a debate more so than fleshing out clearly ideas sometimes. Because like you get in your feelings, you be like, I feel like this person hurt my sister, and then I did. Like it just becomes a thing where it's just like, but wait, are we really talking about the topic anymore? Or are we just upset now? um,
The girls are fighting.
the girls are fighting.
Yeah, like listening back on the episode, I was just like, wait, I'm like, I don't even think that we were talking about the same thing. Like, I'm like I feel like we were all trying to make different points that
Mhm.
weren't connected. And I think that I even seen that in the like Skinny Legends only episodes too, where it's just like it's such a unspoken conversation that I feel like there's so many ways in which you can talk about it and things that you can sort of like confront about the topic
Mhm.
that yeah, I think that, it's this is probably a conversation that similarly to Skinny Legends only probably deserves a follow-up with a more specific angle.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, I never really like. just like you're saying, Jordan, I think it does require even more of a discussion and really level setting, to make sure that everyone knows that we're all talking about the same thing, because I didn't think about a down low person potentially being someone that might just be bisexual. Um, it's so for me, I was like, whoa, didn't really register, but that it would be good to sort of revisit the conversation and maybe definitely set up some more context so that we can really be even more specific than we thought we were trying to be.
Yeah, I mean, so even on that point, Tony, like of bisexuality, you know, we talked a little bit about it on the episode. We brought up an example from the show Insecure, and about how men who have sexual history with other men run into issues with their relationships with heterosexual women. And one of the questions that we received is more so looking inward to our own queer community. Do we think that there is an erasure of bisexuality or bisexual people within the queer community? And what do you think contributes to that?
Yes.
I think so, for sure. 100%. How many times have we heard someone identify as bisexual, as being on the spectrum, and people being like, that motherfucker's gay? Like,
Right.
People just say like, you ain't, if they don't even say that they're straight, because you can't, if you happen to sleep with men and also women, it's automatically like you're gay. And that comes from both the queer community and the cisgendered heterosexual community. So 100% there is an erasure, and that's a conversation topic as well.
I think too, people like binaries. People like, you're this or you're that. And I think people, even if they consider themselves fairly open-minded, they can wrap their heads around gay. Gay means you are over there, you are part of that community, our interactions don't overlap. Being like, if you're a woman dating a guy, and then maybe y'all talking about a guy you're both attracted to, that's some shit people don't wrap their minds around, just because black, white, gay, straight, this, that. Like, and I think that I've said it a lot this season. Like, I hate how binary sometimes people try and make life and experiences, especially around sexuality. So.
Yeah, no, people definitely love their labels. Like, like people come out and say that they're bisexual, and then you automatically think that they're just not ready to say that they're gay yet. Mm-hmm. And you hear that so many times, and there's like this skepticism where it's just like, are you really bisexual, or are you still working through your sexual identity? And yeah, like I'm at fault for that too. So I think that's definitely like something worth like investigating further and sort of getting to the root of that, or trying to get to the root of that. The last question that I sort of wanted to touch on is from a listener who says, do we think that it's hypocritical for visibly queer and proud folks to preach about being out and proud, but then to become involved with queer people who choose to hide their sexuality?
No.
Oh, that's a good question.
It was a long response, and I had to ask a couple of more questions because I wasn't sure like what they were trying to get at. But that was essentially the question started off with trans people, being involved with people who are hiding their sexuality. But then when I asked more questions, the question was more broad, but just about being like proud and queer, but like becoming involved with people who choose to hide it. So Damon, you said no, you don't think that it's hypocritical.
Because I think we have to, again, back to the binaries. Like we like in the queer community, we give people like, you're out or you're not. And if you're not out and shouting it, then you're not proud. And I think that you have to give, what I've always said, like people are like, I remember when coming out, and people would say to me, oh my God, I can't believe that like you didn't want to tell me, or you felt like I wouldn't accept you, or whatever it is. And I've always said like, coming out is about me sharing what I want to share and me being comfortable with myself. And I think that we shouldn't have to force people to be out in a certain way. And if y'all relationship work for the two of y'all, have at it. Like, I don't know why we keep, I don't know. I just don't want to force people to have to do something. And like, for me, I would like to date somebody who's out and proud, and we can go wave rainbows around together. Some people may not need that, and that's cool too.
Yeah, I'm
As
I'm
long as
laughing.
as long as you ain't got me out here lying, like you're not gonna be dragging me somewhere talking about, oh, this is my roommate. No.
Well, that's a problem too. And you right, that's specific too, because you wouldn't know until you're in the moment with that
Hmm.
person if you decide to go down that road. But I'm laughing because when you're talking about binaries, I'm like, well, is that the title for the next conversation, to binary or not to binary?
Beyond
um
the binary.
to be or not to be. And yeah, I don't know. I need to give that some more thought. Is it hypocritical? Is it not? Um, I probably at the end will probably lean towards what Damon is saying, but like I need to unpack that and figure out myself because of the nuance involved around that.
Yeah, like when I saw this question, I thought to myself, it's only hypocritical if that person is saying like condemning people who who choose to not be public with their sexuality and then goes and
Mhm.
have a relationship. But if you're just someone who celebrates proud, like being open and proud or encourages it, but you're still involved with someone who may be struggling, I don't find that
Hmm.
to be hypocritical.
Hmm.
Um, and I agree with you, Damon. I don't think that it's our decision to direct anybody's timeline. You know,
Right.
I think about people like Queen Latifah, who recently just, you know, like showed her support for the LGBTQ plus community and gave a nod to the fact that she's a part of it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And, you know, she had been with a partner for years, but made the personal choice to not share that with the world. And I think that that's completely fine. It's something that worked for her. That's something that worked for her partner. And I think that, yeah, you can't force people. Like I cannot stand when people try to force people to be public about something that isn't anyone's business.
Right.
Um, like it's not important who I'm having sex with. It's never going to be a requirement, like required information for you to have.
Right. Right.
Um, there was a lot more, but I think that a lot of the comments that we had sort of like leaned into some of the things that we talked about, such as like, you know, going beyond the person who's, you know, dealing with their sexuality and their struggle and like really looking at like how society is impacting that decision to stay hidden or to not share. I think that we sort of like make a note to that in our Instagram post that we posted on Saturday. And you know, a couple of other people sort of like echo some of the sentiment that we had, but I definitely think this is a topic that requires so much more conversation and so much more, I guess, specificity. And
Hmm.
but you know, sound off is a quick segment. So I want to thank all the listeners for
Um,
watching Surface Level Sound Off. Unfortunately, this is our last one of this season. However, please tune in to our season finale, Beyond the Surface Level, where we take a look at our season 3. And thanks for hanging with us. You guys have any farewells?
yes. Nope.
Hell no.
You'll get it on Beyond the
Bye.
Surface Level. Good night.